Welcome to Real Stories MKE, brought to you as part of Exfabula's mission to connect Milwaukee through real stories. I'm Kim Shine.
And I'm Joel Dresang. Exfabula believes that everyone has personal stories worth sharing. Exfabula runs workshops to help community members build storytelling skills and confidence, and it hosts story slams where people tell their true stories on stage. In this episode of Real Stories MKE, we're sharing 4 of those powerful stories.
That's right, and our theme this time is release. At some point in life, it's healthy to let go of traditional ways of thinking, constructs, and beliefs. You just face your past or your current path and understand that the life you want to live begins with releasing what holds you back. And I kind of feel like I'm on that mission. You know, I'm at the age or the decade in life where clarity is just hitting me from all sides. And at first it was a little uncomfortable because I'm like, whoa, I thought I was fine. But now, I don't know.
That's great.
Things are good.
I think a lot of times people get focused on their career early in their lives. And one day you wake up and it's like, I need some balance. And maybe that's what you're finding now.
I am.
Good.
Releasing it all.
That's healthy.
Well, guys, we want to tell you that our stories for this episode, they're a mix of inspiration and laughter, but some of them do reference mental illness, abusive relationships, and the death of a loved one. So we want you to listen with care and just do what's best for you.
And if you do need help, you can always text or call the 988 Lifeline to talk to a caring counselor.
That's right. And our first release story from this episode comes from Cate Miller. Now, Cate is bipolar, and back in 2017, she shared how revealing that she had a mental illness gave her strength and made her feel less alone. Here's Cate.
So Nelson's smiling. He's Latino. Here's Nakia smiling. He's black. Are you black?
I'm black.
Are you black? Okay. And I'm smiling, and I'm both bipolar. How can that be? But it is. And see, I've been on this weirdo journey where I've been hidden in plain sight my whole life because it ain't right. It ain't right being mentally ill. You can't be mentally ill. And if you are mentally ill, you certainly can't say it. For God's sakes, my own friends say, well, you can't say you're mentally ill. You got to say it like, you're a person with mental illness. Or, maybe we can put it off a little further, maybe like a survivor of psychiatric treatment. Okay, for me, as a person with bipolar, I'm ready to get to the chase. Let's just, call me crazy pants, but I'd just rather get treatment than screw around talking about how you call me. So I've been on this journey trying to think about coming out. Now, this is a closet that's pretty damn deep. And I've been in it for a whole long time. When I was a little kid, I used to go to camping trips, like everybody else. And no matter where I went, I don't know about you guys, but no matter where I went to Michigan, I went to Wisconsin, everywhere I went, there was a freaking mental hospital just right over the hill. And there was some freaking nut job escaping from it. And, actually, I didn't know they were talking about me. No, I really didn't. So I've come to the point where I've decided, well, I'm 60 freaking 5 years old. And you know what? It ain't doing anybody any good not to talk about this straightforward. The more we distance ourselves from the truth, the farther we distance ourselves from solutions. So I've decided to come out, and I have not been welcomed Oh, well, so be it. Black fuck us. Anyway, so, it's been hard because when I was a kid, I don't know, 30 or so, I came out to my best friend, and it didn't go so well. Any kind of bump in the road after that, it was my fault. After all, I was the nut job, right? I mean, gosh, of course. And then I came out in a women's group. Kind of not so much. I got shunned. It was truly a life-changing experience. And I've definitely gotten into the meditational, kind of monastic kind of lifestyle. But I decided I'm 65 years old. If I don't do this now, when the freak am I gonna do it? I may not be around in 15 years. I hope so. I'm not pessimistic. Despite being bipolar, I'm not pessimistic. So I've been through ups and downs, ins and arounds. I've had changes of heart, but I've decided I'm going for it. I'm going to talk about being mentally ill. And I'm going to say that I am mentally ill just as I can say I'm diabetic, because it's true.
That was Cate Miller, and we have an update from Cate in this episode. She says, the follow-up would be that I would like to continue speaking about my experience with mental illness. I have more to say than 5 minutes allows. Now, of course, I want to address stigma, but also talk about what it's like to live with a mental illness, what works and what doesn't work, how you can live a relatively normal life with a mental health diagnosis.
Our next release story comes from Paul Stabell. Paul came out about his sexuality in his early 20s. After years of serial dating, he shared how a tough part of his youth helped him leave an abusive relationship and find lasting love. He told his story at a 2025 Story Slam with the theme Second Chances. Here's Paul.
So I should have listened to my gut. I came out when I was 21 years old, and I hit the gay bars running. I was never really slutty like that. I'm not a big one-night stand kind of guy, but I became a serial dater. I would date somebody for a month or two and then dump them next. And I did this for a while, actually a long, long while, close to 5 years. Then I went back to school. I decided I was going to, kind of try again, and I went back to school full-time, was working full-time. It didn't work out real well for me, and I just needed to go out. So I went out with a bunch of friends to the bars and was dancing, met this guy, his friend of friends and what have you. Not my type. Not my type at all. A little too corporate. Wore a polo to the club. It was just kind of like, all right, whatever, couldn't dance. It's just not my thing. But the next day, my friend said, this guy really likes you. And I'm like, okay, fine. Like, I'll give him a shot. I had not much going on, other than school and work and everything. So I went out with him, and it wasn't happening. It just wasn't happening. It wasn't happening. And I kept going with it because this is what I did. I just kind of tried it out, exhausted it. And a pattern had emerged during these 5 years of serial dating where 3 months. You got 3 months. And if you couldn't make it happen in 3 months, next. I broke up with a guy on the night of our 3rd month anniversary, right after the dinner. Just like, nope, we're done. So, yeah, not always been a nice person. So, so this guy was done. He was done. And I dumped him, and fine. 3 days later, he calls me, and we're on the phone for 2 hours. And I finally said, fine, let's try this again. And I should have known it was 2 hours. And I didn't say yes because I liked him or that I thought this was going to happen. He wore me down. He wore me down. So we stayed together for another 2.5 years. I had been molested for a lot of years as a child. I watched my stepfather beat the shit out of my mother a couple of times a month. I knew what abuse looked like. So I had an idea of what abuse looked like, I guess I should say. I wasn't prepared for gaslighting. I wasn't prepared for manipulation and control. And I couldn't understand why all of a sudden I was starting to feel less cute, less fun, less smart. Like I wasn't capable of doing anything without another person telling me what to do or how to do it. And so luckily I was volunteering at a clinic, and there was another volunteer there who needed clinic hours. And so I got some therapy for free. And he finally told me, you're not here because you're dealing with your past. You're here because you need to figure out how to break up with this guy. And I finally did. And it broke me a little. And I didn't realize how it had broken me. And it took a lot of time to, I actually had to like pay it forward. I paid that abuse forward in ways that I didn't think I was capable of, in ways that I will never be able to atone for. But the happy ending is that I did finally break that 3-month cycle. I mean, and I did have longer relationships, and I finally got somebody to put a ring on it, and yeah. It's been 20 years, so and so when I did kind of blow up my life as a result of past trauma and what have you, I was the one who got a second chance. So, thank you.
That was Paul Stabell. And we've got an update from Paul, too. He says, I really responded to Ex-Fabula's way of calling the Story Slam a brave space. Sharing my story that night felt like the first brave thing I had done in a very long time. And it was wonderful to know that I still had the guts to do something scary. That's nice.
That is. So, Joel, how about some ultra shorts?
Let's do that.
Remind the folks what they are.
Ultra shorts are very tiny stories that people write on little slips of paper at our events, and hosts will read them on stage.
Yeah, and right now, we're your hosts, so here we go. I got one from Nathaniel. I always knew I was bi, or pan, but didn't feel comfortable expressing myself. Hiding behind the part of me that is attracted to the opposite sex was easy and safe. After a bad breakup, though, a hot male bartender made me feel so safe to experiment that I let go of my fear and embraced my discomfort. I'll never hide again.
Never hide again. I have an ultra short here from Anonymous. I've always been afraid of failing. And being an athlete, you make mistakes often. I had been struggling with becoming so self-conscious that it was affecting my mental health. One game, I decided to just let go of my fears, and I played the best game I've ever played.
Just gotta let go.
Yes, indeed.
This one's from Green and Growing. I'm learning to let go of the things that are no longer serving me. Just like the weeds that need to be pulled from the garden, I am removing the things from my life that stop my growth.
Kim, I've got another ultra short from Eric. When I was younger, I suffered from debilitating shyness. In order to overcome this, I became active in theater. I was a horrible actor, but the experience of performing in front of strangers and being a part of a community of courageous people helped me come out of my shell. Now I'm almost courageous enough to perform at Ex-Fabula. Come on. Listen to what Paul Stabell said. It's a brave space.
Yes, come on out. We'd love to see you. Our next release story comes from Elaine Maly. Now, back at a 2015 Slam, Elaine shared a hilarious tale of coming clean during confessional, seeking penance for her sons and maybe for herself. Here's Elaine.
My sons committed a heinous crime. They were about 8 and 4, and they stole a whole pile of candy from the Kohl's grocery store on our block, which they had cleverly hidden in a heap underneath my car. This really bothered me. I did not want my children to grow up to be criminals, and I felt like if I didn't do something about it, I would be a bad mom. So we filled up a paper grocery bag full of the stuff, and I marched them down the block to the grocery store. And I told them to apologize and to give the stuff back. And they gave it to the lady behind the service counter, and they muttered, "Sorry." And she said, "This is a very serious thing you've done, and you are banned from this store for 2 weeks. They merely shrugged their shoulders and nothing more. This wasn't enough for me. I wanted a heartfelt apology. I wanted tears. I wanted them to understand how wrong this was. That not only was this a criminal offense, this was a sin. A sin. Up there with the big ones stealing. So I dragged them down the block the other way to our church, Immaculate Conception. It was Saturday morning, and confession was open. The church was empty except for me and my 2 boys. So to set a good example, I went into the confessional first, which if you're Catholic, you know a confessional is kind of like an upright coffin, and it's hard, and I hadn't been there in a long time. But when the priest on the other side of the confessional said, "Welcome, child," I knew I was in luck. This was half-hour Schmidtbauer, the guy who said the world's fastest masses. So I began as I was taught. "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned." My last confession was, oh wow, a long time ago. I said, I don't know, 8 or 10 years ago. And he said to me, "Whoa, did you bring your lunch?" I giggled a little, but I said, no, I said, I don't even really know where to start. And he said, "Don't worry, I'll help you." And he starts going through the long list of regulations of good Catholic behavior. And I'm answering them, no, yes, rarely, once or twice, maybe. And then he hits me with the big one. "Have you had sex outside of the sanctity of marriage?" I was 26 years old then. I'd been divorced for 4 years. I had a boyfriend. I said, "Well, yes, but I'm not sorry for that." Because the worst thing I could do as a Catholic was lie in the confessional. So he said, "Well, Elaine, why aren't you sorry?" And I said, "Well, I can't say I'm sorry. I'm just probably going to do it again later tonight." And he said, "Well, do you think, Elaine, and he's saying Elaine, and I'm like, oh crap, that's who I am. And he says, do you think that gluttony is a sin?" And I said, "Gluttony? You mean like eating too much?" And let me tell you, Father Schmidtbauer was no skinny guy. And I said, "Well, what, eating too much?" And he said, "Yeah, eating too much is self-indulgent." And he said, "That's what it is to have sex outside of the sanctity of marriage." And I said, "Yeah, but," and he says, "Just a minute. I'm in charge of lunch today. I have to go check the meatloaf." And he leaves me in the confessional. And now I can hear the kids are clunking their Nikes on the pews. I can hear them muttering, "How long is this going to take?" So I'm realizing I'm going to have to compromise on this, or I am never going to get out of this confessional. So he eventually comes back, and I say, okay. I'm sorry for the sin of self-indulgence. But what really brought me here today in the first place, and I explain about my kids and their heinous crime and how I wanted to impress them. And he says, "Okay, fine, I'll take care of it. You have 12 rosaries is your penance. I send in the kids. They're in and out in 30 seconds. Ben comes clunking back in the pew, and he says, Mom, how do you say Hallowed Marys? I have to do 3.
That was Elaine Maly. Now, as for an update, we do have one from her, and she says, I am proud to say that neither of my sons ever stole anything again. Oh, I guess it worked. And they are doing a great job of keeping their own sons on the straight and narrow.
And Elaine is on the straight and narrow, too, I'm sure.
She is. And we love seeing her at the slams, too. Basically, every slam that I've ever attended. So if you come to one, you got to say hi.
Yes. Our final release tale comes from Michaela Lacy. Michaela's story is one where release and inspiration go hand in hand. She tells of coming out as queer to her great-grandmother, the grief of losing her, and then finding another safe space within a local Milwaukee nonprofit. Michaela took the stage in 2023 at After Dark for the Culture, an ongoing collaboration between Ex Fabula and Hyphen, Radio Milwaukee's urban alternative station. After Dark for the Culture highlights true stories from people of color. Here's Michaela.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. I'm really honored to be here, and really honored to be sharing my story to this theme for the culture. Every time I think of culture, I think of community, and so this is a story about the community, one of the communities that I hold dearest in my heart, and that is Public Allies Milwaukee. As stated in my bio, I am a proud Public Allies alum, and if it were not for Public Allies, I would not be standing in front of you all today. So it is important to me that any stage that I step on, I indicate how important they were to my life. Public Allies was to my life and is to my life. So I'm queer. And I'm really proud of myself because there was a point in time in my life where I was nervous to say that out loud. But I've taken a journey that I am really proud of, a journey that is my own to claim, a journey that I am not ashamed of. And I have had multiple coming out stories. So I feel that for the culture, I'm going to share those multiple coming out stories. So I'm going to take it back to 2013. I remember being in my great-grandmother's room, my grandmother who is a very God-fearing Southern woman, and coming out to her and telling her that I was queer. And I knew that if I came out to my great-grandmother, there was nobody in the world that I should be afraid to coming out to. Because if my great-grandmother accepts me, it doesn't matter who accepts me at this point. So I remember my great-grandmother, in her very Christian way, told me that she loved me and that she accepted me, and that if she had to distract Jesus so that I could sneak inside of heaven, that somehow, some way, she was going to get me to heaven. And thank you. And when she passed, I felt that there was nowhere in the world where I would be accepted again, and I would feel the love of someone who was willing to fight with herself, fight inside of herself, to be in the intersection of a religion that sometimes tells you that you can't meet people where they are, but only accept people where God says they should be. And also this deep love for her great-granddaughter. And so when she passed, I feared that that love would not be present in my life anymore. But then in 2020, I joined Public Allies, and I came out again. And this time, there was no apologies, there was no shame, there was a certain safety that I felt that I didn't have to apologize for. And there was a certain confidence that I had that really stuck with me and really moved me. And it's interesting because within the same community, with different faces, very recently I came out again and I named that despite being able to be honest about my queerness and open with my sexuality, I felt that there was a calling for me to be queer and quiet. And I feel like oftentimes in spaces where I was partially accepted for being queer, there was an expectation for me to be queer and quiet about it. There was a certain exhale that my family took when I entered a relationship with a cis man. And then I felt that same love with Public Allies again when I said, I don't want to be queer and quiet anymore. I want to be loud, and I want to be safe, and I want to be loved. And I was encouraged deeply by Public Allies to stand in my truth and to be honest about who I was and unapologetic. And I remembered that, and that is the reason why I am up here right now telling you at the forefront that I am queer, because of the love that I felt. And I know that I am just so thankful because even though my great-grandmother is not here anymore, I have never been absent of that love. So.
That was Michaela Lacy.
Well, Joel and everybody who is listening, and we love you guys so much, but unfortunately, that is all the time we have for this episode of Real Stories MKE. You guys already know that Exfabula has been doing this since 2009, and there are more audio, stories, and video, everything available at exfabula.org/radio.
That's right. The Exfabula website lists upcoming storytelling workshops and story slams. Check it out. Attend an event, maybe we'll get to hear one of your stories. You can also connect with Exfabula on Facebook and Instagram, and you can keep up with Real Stories MKE wherever you get podcasts.
Thanks to everyone who makes this program possible, including Exfabula staff, the storytellers, our producer, Jasmine Gonzalez, and audio engineer, Sam Woods. We also want to thank the A.B. Korkor Foundation for Mental Health, the Lacey Sadoff Foundation, the Hertzfeld Foundation, and all of the supporters of our community storytelling work.
For Real Stories MKE, I'm Joel Dresang.
And I'm Kim Shine. Consider being brave, releasing it all, and telling your story. Thanks for listening.